I'd like to start off this video with a short introduction. My name is Winey. I'm a senior at Faith Baptist Bible College, and I'm in the Organizational Leadership Program. Mr. Baldwin asked me to share just a short testimony of my recent experience being hired at Range Masters in Des Moines, Iowa. When I first moved back into the dorms in Ankeny, I originally applied for the Mills Fleet Farm Gun Counter position here. And after my interview, I felt very ill-equipped because the gentleman who was interviewing me asked me, "Do you have any questions for me?" And I kind of just sat there in an awkward silence and didn't really have a good answer for him. And I was turned down that job just because of hours availability. They were looking for somebody to come in and open as to afternoon and evening hours, which led to my interview over at Range Masters in Des Moines. I sent in my application, and last year we used a website which is called LinkedIn, and it's a very new rave, and you can connect with employers around the area, and you share profiles and information about yourself, and it's just a really good way to network in our community, and very, very modern way of sharing resumes. And so during my process in my emails, I sent my LinkedIn profile to my future employer in hopes that that would suffice as the resume. And so I go in for the interview and sit down. It's very, very cold at first. And just bare grip bones. What's your base knowledge of firearms? What do you know? How are you proficient? What's your knowledge? And between my military experience and personal experience, I was able to give sufficient answers to 85% of the questions that were asked of me. And then at the end of it, he asked, "Do you have any questions for me?" And now this is where it had been different, because what we had learned about in last year, some of my readings, and we're reading now, is the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Now, I don't necessarily need to work in college because of my military benefits. So if I get a job, I want to be part of a good team, and I want to be a part of a team that has good leadership. So I went back and reflected, and I came prepared this time. I physically brought in my notebook, and I had a set of questions for my employer. So this is when the attitude and the energy in the room changed. I started asking. It felt like I was going from kind of a climbing knee scratch to like, oh, we're on the same level. This guy's thinking. So here's where some of the questions from reading or from personal experience that I wanted to ask my employer. The first one being, what does an ideal team player look like to you? And how would you describe the workplace energy? What is good about your staff? What needs improvement? But more importantly, how are you planning to fix it? What happens when a team member makes a mistake, major and minor? What is available as far as extra training for your team members? As a leader, how do you daily try to better yourself as well as your team? Having the opportunity to ask him these questions, that right there is what separated me in that job interview. The energy in the room completely changed. And later at the end of it, he admitted to me, he's like, when you sent me your LinkedIn profile, he's like, I legit thought it was your Facebook profile. He's like, at that point, I was going to be done with you. But I was like, hey, you know what? I'll give this kid a chance. I want to see what he has to say. So after coming into the interview, my LinkedIn profile, which we invested a lot of time in our class, which was supposed to help us in success and set us up for success in the future in our job training process, actually was a deterrent because my employer was older. When he asked for a resume, he wanted a physical copy that he could hold in his hands. And so being able to ask him those questions and be able to say, hey, I'm generally interested in how you do things here, and I want to be a part of a good team. That is really what helped me hook this job. And I'm thankful for Mr. Baldwin and all he's done, and I'm thankful that I was actually able to apply my class knowledge in a real world scenario and to see what works and what didn't. So I hope as a result of this, other people will be able to distinguish themselves with these kind of questions, or just be able to apply the knowledge that we've learned. And it was absolutely phenomenal to actually say, hey, I learned this in the classroom, and then I applied it outside, and it was something that actually got me a job in the real world. So just hope that would be an encouragement to everybody that hears this.